Do what only you can do. That's the title of today's message. I feel like this is going to be another short one. It's something I have been talking about a lot. Actually, not just throughout this YouTube channel, but throughout my whole life. Although it's mostly thinking only in my own head rather than running around telling others about it. Because most people aren't ready to actually follow through on that. But ultimately, if you're courageous enough to actually face this message, you will understand that it's an antidote to almost all of the problems in your life. So there are many popular forms of advice out there that's categorized as self-help. And I personally have been a very, very devoted consumer of the market from very early on, from my teens, really. And now I'm slowly realizing that following that generalized advice has been the thing that's been holding me back. Because what's truly remarkable is only accomplished by individuals who are courageous enough to follow their own path. And even when, because here's how most self-help or any kind of advice market works from my observation so far. Someone will go their own way and succeed. And then, because success attracts people who want to learn from that success, they will give out advice. But that advice essentially has its own ceiling, a built-in limitation, because that thing that he or she did to achieve his or her success was applicable only to them at that particular moment in time or history. So, well, first off, there are a lot of sleazy people faking their success and selling to sell their advice at a high price in that self-help slash advice, business advice market. But even people who have operate out of a good heart, their good intention may be misdirected when they tell you exactly what they did or how they did to succeed. It may not work for you. Well, chances are it won't work for the majority of the people, because you will have to be very similar to that person's personality. You'll have to have a very high degree of similarity to that person in order to achieve the same level of success. So rarely there comes a case where that person actually does even better than their teacher, so to speak. And that almost always is because that person who was more successful than his or her teacher found his or her own sauce, own tweak, own flair to the whole recipe. So that advice from someone else was just a stepping stone for that person to actually find his or her own way. Doing only what you can do doesn't mean you do something wacky just for the sake of it. Because you could be doing something ordinary to an outside eye, but the way you do it, or even the internal state in which you do it, can be unique to you. So to support what I just said, for example, we will see someone who's outrageously successful in every run-of-the-mill average industry or slash career slash job out there, even sport. Like you can get you can become a millionaire just selling, I don't know, clothes, retail, owning a clothing shop, while there are millions of others who just barely scrape by owning a single small clothing shop. And there are thousands of different examples out there. So how others are doing in a particular industry or in a particular market at a particular time in history is irrelevant. May not apply to you if you internally feel a strong pull to pursue that. Okay? And eventually, doing may not be the most appropriate word to describe this philosophy. So I want to close up this message by modifying the title of this video a little bit. I started out with do what only you can do. And really, when you say do, it may sound like it only applies to your career or even your daily actions or tasks that you perform. But really, for me, it's more like this. Live a life that only you can live. That way, it's not just about work or career. It's about what you do in every waking and even sleeping moment of your days. And that, as I said, will be the doorway, if you're courageous enough to step through that, to your dream life and all of your so-called problems magically falling away.